Okay, now I'm going to glue the boards onto the cover paper. It's going to be a gatefold, like so, that meets in the middle. But I first need something to identify what's the front of the book so it doesn't go upside down. And I'm going to use this. It could be a title in a rectangle, but I'm just going to use an image. And it's important to make it inset a little bit into the book board so that when the book goes in between other books on the bookshelf, then it doesn't get worn away. So this has the book board's been cut away just a little bit, and the book cloth has been pushed into that crevice so that the label is never going to get worn off. And it can be any shape. It can go anywhere I want. I'm just going to put it sort of at the bottom here. On this one side. And I'm going to draw around it maybe 1/8 of an inch or a little less, just so I can, when I glue it in, I don't have to be perfect about it. And it makes for a nice little frame. So now I cut 1/3 to 1/2 way into the book board. There's no way you can cut all the way through in one pass, so don't worry about it. I'm putting a fair amount of pressure on here, following my line. And I'm not even following my line super perfect because I've got enough leeway. It's important that you do actually get down a fair amount into the book board so that you can lift it off. So the book board is done in layers. It's really just cheap cardboard. And so if you can grab about 1/3 of that book board, it will come off and not come off in pieces like that. So I'm going to try this again. There we go. Ah, it's not behaving. I think I'll get a little deeper. It's nice if it comes off in a big chunk rather than having to fight little bits all the time. Get my knife under there. No body parts in front of the blade. And it doesn't have to be perfectly level, but it's nice if you can just kind of get a little further down and not horrendously bumpy. Sometimes this is a really easy process, and other times it takes a little picking. And this is the picking one. Okay, then you sort of feel the edges to make sure that you do have, you know, a level or so down. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to push the book paper, the cover paper, into that recess, and then I'll glue this on top when that's done, and it'll look pretty nice. Okay, now I'm ready for the scary part, the glue. I need some paper. So this is phone book paper. This serves as a mask. Paper from your recycle, paper, newsprint, whatever is good. And make sure you have a fair amount. So I am going to put glue on the board and then glue it down. Got my glue pot. I got my lovely brush, pretty big brush. And you need to have a decent layer of glue, and you don't have much time because this glue dries relatively quickly. I saw a video just yesterday where somebody was spreading the glue with a little bit of a mat board card. I thought that was interesting, but I've always used a brush. Okay, so I've got this, and I'm just going to put it on bookboard and press it down a little bit to make sure there's no bubbles. I've got a little damp rag for my fingers right here, and now I'm going to flip this over on a piece of the phone book and press with my fingers. You can use a bone folder. You can use your hand or your fingers to make sure there's no bubbles, to make sure there's contact all over the cover, because it's really kind of annoying if there's a bubble, because you can't get it out once it's dry. Okay, so this piece of phone book paper has a bit of glue on it, so it goes on the floor. You never want to get glue where you don't want the glue. It's very annoying. Okay, and then I always check how I want my orientation. So that goes, this goes that direction. And this one, this doesn't matter because it's the same on either side. So now I'm going to glue this board. Thicker than you might think, but not ropey. You want good contact. I'm going to push on it, make sure there's no bubbles. Make sure I'm within my 3/8 of an inch gap, and flop it over. Make sure it's pressed down. So the glue is soaking into the paper. The paper may try to fight you. This paper's doing pretty good. It's not wrinkling, it's not buckling. I made sure the paper grain is the same direction as the book board, so it'll act nicely. Okay, this one has no glue on it. I always make sure, because it's really bad if you've got glue on a nice part. Okay, and I'm going to need to get glue into that crevice, but I'm going to make sure not to like just fill it with glue, because that can be a little problematic if you're just pushing wet glue all around that crevice with your bone folder. Okay, and then this one goes down over here in the position it needs to be in. I'm going to grab my damp cloth to make sure my fingers aren't going to... And then it goes over. I always keep track of the piece of paper that it goes on top of. And then with my bone folder, I'm going to press that shape down. Try with my fingers first. So the paper is actually taking on moisture and stretching as you go, which is really helpful because you're going to be pushing, not pushing through the paper and creating a hole, but you're going to stretch the paper into that crevice, whatever shape it is. It might be a rectangle, it might be a circle, it might be an odd shape like this one. It doesn't really matter at all. And you just have to be kind of gentle. Don't poke through the paper. I've done that. And you're making sure that the paper just stretches itself into that position. You can do the same with book cloth. We'll make book cloth for our next project. All right, that worked out okay. Okay. A little bit of glue on that so it goes away. Alrighty. I always keep a extra piece of book board around because that will give me the measurement of to cover the book paper. So essentially I want to miter the corners because you don't want this floppy edge. There's nothing you can really do with that. So you want to cut off that corner, and then you've got a really tidy corner that just meets. But the paper has to come up and around the book cloth and over. And if you cut that right at the edge, you're going to reveal that ugly gray book cloth, and you don't want that. So a little extra piece is the distance that you need to go away so that you can make a cut. And I just make a pencil mark, and then I cut on the outside of the pencil mark, and that's enough for the two to meet and just barely overlap. I'll go ahead and do a couple, two sides. And I eyeball a 90-degree angle. If I'm doing a lot of them, I'll create a 45-degree jig. And then that speeds up my time. So now I just cut that on the outside of the pencil mark. Pencil mark is a distance, quantifiable distance. Doesn't have to be far outside of the pencil mark, but just on the outside. And it's okay if it's not exactly 45 degrees. I just try to eyeball it best I can. Okay. I'll stop that and then we'll glue next time. Woohoo!